Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Show. I'm Ann Alvares, parent coach, school counselor, and mom of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting? Do you lose patience, sometimes yell at your children, and sometimes you just don't feel peaceful as a parent? I understand completely. I have had my own parenting struggles. And during the process, I've really learned how to be a relational parent. I've learned what are my triggers from my own childhood pain. And I've learned to become more aware of what is setting me off and what I need to do to change that. I've also learned how to connect better with my kids and how to communicate in a way that touches their hearts. And this is what I can teach you parents. I understand the struggles and I have made it through on the other side. I have a very peaceful home life now, and I have a good relationship with my children. So, parents, this show is for you. Join me every week, every Saturday, and we will go through what are the things that are going to help you on your parenting journey. Thank you for joining. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and Show. I am so excited because I have a returning guest. His name is Jesse Sweed, and he is also a parent coach. Welcome, Jesse.
Wonderful to be here again, Anne. This might actually be our third time together, actually. I'm not
Third
sure.
time.
I think
Yes, we
so.
we we like to banter, right? So
Yeah.
we're a good match that way.
Yeah. The conversation just flows.
It does. It does. All right. Today we're going to talk about breaking cycles, right? Generational cycles as parents so that we're not repeating the patterns from our own childhoods, right? So, how do you know you are repeating cycles that are unhealthy in your
Mm.
parenting?
Yeah. That's good. That's an interesting question. And I mean, I would say that repeating cycles is kind of the default. So if you're not consciously working to correct cycles, identify and correct them, I would say the default is you are repeating them. We are repeating them
Hmm.
because that's what we do. And because if we're not consciously trying to correct these unhealthy cycles to identify them first and then create them, we are going to repeat them, and it's really scary because we're going to repeat them and not even be aware of it. And then when we are confronted by, I don't know, a partner or our children ask us like, why are you getting so mad? And that might trigger something else, right? So, and then we're triggered and then we continue the cycles. So unless you are consciously becoming aware of your cycles, you probably are being run by them.
Right. So, do you think like it's good to reflect on your childhood and say like what was good about it, what wasn't good about it, what do I not want to repeat with my own children?
Yeah, and just kind of like, you know, I think inner child work is great and it's done some phenomenal things for me. But I think it's also important not to dwell in that space, to not
Mhm.
dwell on like things, how my childhood, because that can quickly bring us to become, unless we are intentionally going back to our childhood and then rewriting our own story,
Mhm.
meaning like almost like remembering and recreating,
Mhm.
the upbringing that we wanted and that it's taking us to a healthy place. We can end up in victim mode, I think. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like I wasn't raised with money. Like I was raised in we grew up in a trailer.
Yeah.
It wasn't a trailer park, it was a trailer in the woods. And so and like we didn't have money. We had to recycle cans. We picked up cans on the side of the road to take them to the recycling place, to get grocery money. So it's like I could go back and there were people that had it way worse than me that end up way better than me. So it's easy to go back and say, oh, I didn't have that. I didn't grow up with money, and then become a victim.
Yes.
But I think we've talked about before, like four types of characters and stories, and we can become one of those four characters. That's the hero,
Mm-hmm.
the villain, the victim, or the guide. And we are wearing one of those hats every part of the day. It's like we take one off and then put one on. And unless we're conscious about which one we're putting on, we go back into the cycles that we've had. So I think rather than dwelling on our upbringing, kind of focusing on those moments when, like, well, what did my father come out of my mouth?
Yeah.
Or when did mother, those are my mother's words,
Yeah.
things like that. And are those words that you want to repeat? Are those actions you want to repeat?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Like, you mentioned like maybe our partner or our spouse will say, "Why are you yelling?" Or our kids, like our kids teach us
Yeah.
when we're not being healthy, right?
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
can tell by their reactions and also their words. Like if they're
Yeah.
comfortable enough, they'll be like, "Mom, why are you nagging me again?" You know?
Oh, and it's so easy to turn into like, who are you talking to? Like, who do you think you are, kind of thing, rather than, like you said, allow ourselves to learn in those moments, allow them
Yeah.
to be our teacher.
Yes.
Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they're not our teacher. We are our own teacher. But are
Yes.
we listening to the lesson?
100%. 100%. Okay. How do we become more aware and change this kind of parenting? So we just
Mm,
talked a little bit about that, right? Like our kids will show us. What about
yeah.
internally? Like
Yeah.
something's happening internally, right?
Yeah.
When
It
when
always
we're
starts,
repeating.
you know. And I think becoming aware of our own triggers, like we just mentioned it, like, who do you think you are? Like, that's I'm triggered by something whenever something like that comes out,
When you're
right?
getting
And
mad, right? When you're getting
right,
angry. Yeah.
right. And more, not even necessarily, well, angry, but also challenged or, questioned,
Offended.
things like that, offended, like whenever those sorts of, like, guilt, shame, offense, defense from being challenged, questioned, if any of those sorts of things are triggering something in me, that's a moment for me to reflect, and it might be in that moment, it might be later, it might be with like journaling, it might be with like meditation, it might be talking to somebody
Yeah.
about it,
Mm.
whatever. But use those moments when you kind of are triggered to lose control. Those are the moments to reflect.
Right. And probably not reflect in that exact moment. You probably need to leave and get
Yeah.
calm,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
say, okay, like where is this coming from? How come
Yeah.
I was so offended by my
Yeah.
child slamming the door? Like, why was I so angry about that?
Yeah.
How did I always say, like, when did you feel that way before?
Mm.
Because you felt that in your childhood and it's resurfacing with our
Yeah.
kids.
And in fact, I kind of, when I speak like I spoke earlier, like, and if somebody's triggered by this, then on one side I apologize, but on the other side I don't apologize. Who do you think you are? Like, even that tone of voice could trigger something, like hearing that right now could trigger something in somebody. Like,
Yes.
and explore that.
Yes. Yes. 100%. 100%. Okay. So what
I went into my
is
dad voice there.
yeah, that's your dad voice?
No, I guess that's my dad's voice coming out.
Yes. 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 That's
You
when
know,
you want to run and hide.
yeah, no, exactly. And those are like the kinds of things. I don't say that going back to changing these cycles, because I don't want like my kids to feel, how I felt. Because those words, like, who do you think you are? Like, that
Yeah.
is so disempowering. That is like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, that's not the environment I want to create. But that's what I was brought up with. And like, I always kind of feel like weird. And I don't know if you do too. Like, I almost feel like I'm throwing my own parents under the bus. But like, that's not my intention. And I've talked to my parents about this, and they love my message.
Yes.
Because they're happy. My mom's talked about how I'm, the one changing these cycles. And so
Wait,
it's like cliched stuff is the
I
things
want
that I
to
bring up.
I just want to reiterate your message. We're not here to shame our parents.
No.
We're
Yeah.
here to here to do better for
Mhm.
our kids. And
Yeah.
so to do better, we need to look at the past and we need to say, was that good? Was that not good? Like you have to think about it, right? But our parents did what they did because that's what they knew.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not about shaming them because they didn't know. But
Exactly.
now we're in this amazing generation of knowledge where we can understand how our words and our actions affect our kids and change that, right? So it's not
Yeah.
about shaming the generations before. It's about growing and getting better and creating more healthy relationships. That's my message as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's like, anyone listening to this is now you have a choice. They did the best that they could with what they knew. And like you said, we have this great information age. And that's kind of a blessing and a curse, because it can fall upon deaf ears, because, you're scrolling and scrolling. Oh, that's a nice message. Double click heart, scroll. Oh, double click heart. And nothing can sit and sink in. And I kind of want to like pause here for a second to anyone listening and being like, from this moment on, you don't have an excuse.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know before, but at least you have the information now in front of you. So now
Yes.
it's a choice.
Right. Okay. And I just had a guest, English Simone. She was talking about our kids are smart now, like really smart. They know a lot. So when we say because I said so, that doesn't
Yeah.
work anymore.
No, no, no. And like sometimes messages like ours, some kids might be scrolling and hearing these messages about two parents, but the kids are watching and saying, yeah, because I said so, that is lazy
Right.
communication, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And it's just funny. This is kind of relevant. But I went to an arcade with my kids. I took my kids to an arcade yesterday, and just like a special treat and something fun because it's so hot outside. And so I gave them each on they don't put coins in the machine anymore, at least here. Like they, fill up, money on a card, and then they swipe the card. And so my son, he's 6.5, and he goes to those claw machines. And those claw machines are all scams. Like they're not going to
Yes.
hold things hard enough and I'm like, no, this is a losing game. And he'd like go back and then come back to it. And no, that's a losing game. Why don't you play something you can win? It's like, let me play what I want. Like 6 years old, he's like, I can play what I want. And it's like, that was one of those moments that
Yes.
like I could have been like, go away.
Yeah.
Don't play this. But I was like, it was kind of like a smack in the face,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you know,
Because you
right.
weren't allowing him to make his own
Make that
decision.
mistake. Yeah.
Yes.
And make that
You weren't.
mistake and learn.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that he felt comfortable that he could speak his voice to you. Like
Hmm.
that to me that always speaks volumes in the relationship with a child and a parent. When our children, because I couldn't do that. I would never say that to my mom. I just listened to her. But when our children can speak and say, Leave me alone, Dad. I know what I'm doing," or let me decide
Yeah.
for
I can
myself.
play what I want.
I can play what I want. Why are you telling me?
Yeah, yeah. And the beautiful thing is, like, I gave my piece. I gave that information, the information that those claw machines are a losing game. I gave that to him. I can play what I want. And it was a light bulb moment too. I was like, that's true. You can.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
blow all your money here. Because here, and then here's another thing that I thought after I, I was like, you're right. You play what you want.
Yeah.
And then I thought, you know what? I used to love claw machines. Like,
There
I
you
love
go.
them,
There you go. Yeah.
and so have at it. Have at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe
I
you
like,
will win. And then good for you. Like maybe you will win, and that'd be awesome.
yeah.
He did.
You stopped and you were like, hold on a second.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a regulation. It was like, yeah, that's true. You
Hold
can
on
play
a
what
second here.
and
Okay,
what
that's really,
the
really
point we
great.
came is to have fun,
I love
not to win
that
a
story.
stuffed animal.
I love that story because our
Yeah.
kids need a voice and they also, um, yeah, they need to be heard and also, um, they need to make their mistakes and follow what they want, right? Like
Yeah.
this is teaching them. This is build actually this builds confidence when
Yeah.
they're speaking their mind and then they're like willing to make their own mistakes, right? And learn from them. So
Mhm.
good. Okay, what do you think is needed to model healthy relationships?
To model healthy relationships.
Yeah, because okay, I just want to say when you say um because I said so, or who do you think you are? That's not healthy, right? Those words are not, that's not a healthy, safe relationship,
No,
right?
it's
And
not a
we,
relationship. It's like a
yeah,
dictator. I call it dictator parenting.
okay, parents will get that joke. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
And it's like, yeah. So what was the question though? Like
Like,
how to
how-
model healthy relationships.
yeah, how do we, because maybe like the you and I grew up, those words are not healthy, right? So how do we make sure that we're modeling healthy relationships to our kids?
Hmm. Good question. I think that goes back to our first question of identifying unhealthy patterns that we are doing,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and also kind of like following our intuition and our feelings. Like if we are in a communication space, kind of like my story at the arcade, like if we're in a communication space and like when I let him, like, you play, you have fun and do what you like, that felt right,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And so many times, and this isn't a patting on the back, like there have been plenty of times when I didn't, you know, and it's a learning process, but it's like, how can we learn from the bad decisions and and make more good decisions? And I think that's leadership
Yes.
too. It's like, how can I make more healthy decisions and
Right.
fewer bad unhealthy decisions? And that's a process, and we have to become self-aware. I think self-aware in these unhealthy cycles, self-aware in the things that are making us feel bad and feel like I'm in the wrong, but I don't want to be in the wrong, so go to your room, but really explore our own emotions. I guess that's where I would say start at. Explore our own emotions.
Right. And
Can be scary.
I think too is we got to remember as parents that it's not about us. Like I think sometimes we personalize
Mm,
and we need to say, okay, like I'm getting triggered right now because my child slammed the door,
yeah,
but it's not about me.
yeah,
It's about my child. Okay, why did my child slam the door?
yeah.
What's going on with my child? What does my child need right now? And if
Mm,
we can reframe it that way, because our parents wouldn't have done that. They'd be like, "Why are you slamming the door? Who do you think you are? What's wrong with you?" Right?
yeah.
Um, And instead of finding out what's going on with my child and what does my child need that I can give, right?
Yeah. Yeah. With slamming the door. Yeah. Why am I feeling so triggered? Because to be honest, with the example of slamming the door, I've had that and we kind of don't do that anymore. But like, what is my reason for being triggered? Is it because they're offending me and they're challenging me and they're blowing up and it's making, or is it because this is going to break the door and that's not a good thing. That's going to be expensive. So, or is it that that's an unhealthy way for them to express themselves? So, sometimes we might be triggered because of something good. So being triggered isn't, I don't think, maybe there's a different word for it, which you would probably, let me know if there is, but like I have had each of my kids, like the one is 9, the other is 6.5, like slam the door. And in that moment, I would like, maybe sometimes in that moment, sometimes not. It depends on my state. If I am, elevated my emotion, but like, I'll just open their door and say, hey, you can be angry and you can, be frustrated and you can hit things and whatever, but we can't slam the door because that's going to break it. Okay. And
Right.
then I just like I'd close the door and let them vent. Cause we've talked about venting before,
Yes.
like, they
I
can
love-
vent in healthy ways, like hit the bed. Don't hit anything hard. Don't hit
Uh-huh,
anything that'll break. Don't hit anything that'll hurt you. But
uh-huh,
scream into a pillow, like slam the bed, whatever.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they need to. I think what I want is I want parents to understand that we need to feel our emotions,
Mm,
and kids are the same. They
mm,
need to feel their emotions to be healthy. We are unhealthy when we suppress our emotions. That's when it
yeah.
can turn into like depression, right? So we allow our children to express it. But yes, maybe hitting your brother or sister or slamming the door is not the way to go about expressing your emotions. And then you can redirect them like you did, Jesse, with your children. You can hit your pillow, you can do this, you can vent and you can get angry. That's okay. But
Mm,
you're not hurting anybody when you're angry, and you're not hurting anything in the house when you're angry,
mm,
right?
mm.
That's the
Yeah. Yeah.
messaging. Yeah. I love that. So good.
Yeah, and you just brought up something that like kind of drives me nuts. It's but it comes from a good place. And telling them things like, "Oh, don't be sad. Don't feel bad."
Yeah,
Like that's
I know.
not many times it comes from a good place, but I don't think that's a good message to deliver.
That's a patterning from our generations before and society. Because
Mm,
society has taught us to repress our emotions.
mm,
Society has like shamed parents for their children having a temper tantrum in the store, right?
yeah.
So, society, it has been giving the message obedience is the way to go. Don't show emotion, right? And that has been damaging for the previous generations. So that's why we have to get the message, like you and I are on the same page with this, where we're not suppressing emotions. We're going to talk about it. We're going to express it. We're going to get it out physically if we need to, like go for a run or whatever, to regulate ourselves so that it
Mm,
doesn't turn into a mental health illness, right? Because that's what it can turn into.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So,
It's like when you put like if you heat up water, you put like a jar in the, or a Tupperware or something into a microwave, like you don't seal the top.
yeah.
If you do, it'll just explode.
Exactly. Exactly. Good analogy. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right, Jesse, thank you so much for joining today. I want you to let parents know how they can work with you and what you're doing, what's happening, how they
Yeah,
contact you.
sweet. Thank you for that. I guess a lot of my energy now is focused on Instagram. If you want to stop by, Jesse at Jesse_Sweed, SWEED. I'd love to say hi there. And on my YouTube channel, Jesse Sweed. And also I'm launching a Patreon page, A Parent Leadership. Those are in the links in those places, and just patreon.com/apparent leadership. Because a parent, like with one P, like a parent leadership.
Wow.
Because we want to be parent leaders and make it apparent that we are.
Yes, I love that. That's so awesome. Oh, well, thank you so much, Jesse. And I want to say thank you to you, parents, for joining us today. I hope that you got some value out of the content. And you know where to reach Jesse and I hope that you stay tuned for the next episode. Take care, everybody. Thank you, parents, so much for joining today. I hope that this episode has helped you and changed you in some way. If it has, I would love if you could share the show with others. And also, if you would want some more support and want to know more about the Masterful Parenting Program, I am happy to tell you more. So reach out. All my links are provided on the show, and I'm happy to work with you. Take care, parents, and see you next time.